So it's quite a momentous day in this household today, because after 17 years and 5 months, we're finally replacing our TV. Now, this is our old Sharp Aquos. Aquos? How do you say it? I don't know. But it's a Sharp TV, and it is, what, 17.5 years old. We've had it a very long time, but it has got to a point where I think we need to replace it. I mean, I don't know if it comes out on here, but I've put like a plain white background up, and you can see lines across it where the backlight is very uneven. In fact, right up at the top here, it's sort of much darker. There's this weird L-shaped area here where the backlight just doesn't seem to reach. It's been getting on my nerves for years. I have been very curious to find out how long this TV actually lasts, but to be honest, I think we've reached a point where I'm just fed up with it. Let's get a new one. I don't know if you can hear it. It also makes a really loud humming noise. No, it might not come across on the microphone. It's like an electrical buzz noise. You can hear it when you're watching. If we replace this TV, it's more than just the TV that needs to be replaced, because you can see we've got a Kinect here for an Xbox. I've got some speakers, some surround speakers. In fact, you can probably see another speaker in the corner just over there. So we've got 5.1 surround sound, and if we get a 4K TV, then we're going to need a new amplifier as well. Now let me just show you. Down here is our AV cabinet, and if I open this up, see, look, there's a lot of cables in there. So I've bought new HDMI cables, because you need HDMI 2.1, so ultra high speed for 4K HDR TV. So those are new cables. We don't actually, watch this, see, this is an aerial cable, so we don't actually have an aerial connected to that TV, because it doesn't even have a Freeview tuner. So we have to use the TV tuner that's in the garage, and that runs through Plex on the Apple TV that you can see just sitting there. But this box here, this is my faithful Sony AV receiver, and the problem is it's 1080p only, so we've got to replace that with a 4K one. So I've got a Denon one on order to replace that. The Xbox, I literally only use that for testing Ken's pub quiz, so that can go. The FreeSat box down there hasn't been powered on in years, so that's going to go. So when the TV arrives, I'm taking both of those out. I'm taking that out and replacing it. We're going to keep the Apple TV, and we're going to keep this little box here. That's my fan controller. Have a look at the back there. You should be able to see a fan in the back of that cabinet. Down here we have got a little network switch. That's staying as well, because the TV will need to connect to the network, and so will the new amplifier. This is my remote control. This is the Logitech Harmony remote. Now I don't know if this is going to actually work with the new TV or not, because the remote and indeed the hub that goes with it there, they've both been discontinued by Logitech. So I don't know if I can reprogram it to work with a new TV and amplifier, and crucially I don't even know if the new TV and amplifier would be in the database of hardware that this supports. So it might be time up for this as well. That's going to be a real shame. Now what I'm going to do is, well no, what is in there are the cables run from a hole that's in the wall just behind there into this fireplace. They then sort of run inside the hollow fireplace down to about here, and then they go into this wall and pop out just behind that cabinet. In fact, whoa, look at that. Can you see that hole in the wall just down there? They seem to pop out there. Now there's a little bit of trunk in here, and this trunking is actually for the Kinect cable, because I couldn't get that through the wall because the plug was too big. So I might have to use that for the HDMI cable, we'll see. But there is, behind this TV, a network cable that's not been terminated. There's also a USB extension cable that's got to come out, so I need to put in a new aerial cable, a new HDMI cable. I need to terminate the aerial and terminate the network cable, both ends, and then put it all back on and tidy it up. So it's never straightforward, is it? I just wanted to replace the telly, but then there's a whole lot of work that's got to go with it when I replace the telly. But it's due to arrive today at some point. In fact, the TV and the amplifier are due to arrive today. So hopefully that is out for delivery, and I will see you when that gets here. Right, the TV is now down off the wall, and I've done a lot of work with the cables. Let me show you. So here we've got a freshly terminated network cable, and here is the aerial cable. Now the power connector, I don't know if it's going to be a figure 8 or a different type, so I might have to change this when it arrives. But if you look here, I've got a little junction box. All I have to do is reconnect a new cable into there and we'll all be good. The HDMI cable is all in. That's the 8K one, going all the way through the wall. I managed to get it to run inside the wall here. So this trunking that was used for the connect cable, that can all go now. Pulled out the satellite coax because we don't need satellite anymore. It's really filthy down here actually. I've got to give this a good clean, so I'm going to take all these cables out and clean it all up. It's arrived. Okay, I don't think I told you which one it was. It's the Samsung QN90F 50-inch TV, and that's because it should be physically about the same size as the 46-inch Sharp TV that it's replacing. I didn't want it any physically bigger, but you got a bigger screen. What's that, an extra 4 inches of screen, but the look at the size of these edges to this TV here. They are massive. So on the new one they're much smaller, so it should be the same physical footprint but a bigger screen. Okay, I thought I'd better test it before I put it up on the wall, because that would be really annoying if it was faulty. But they've given me 2 remotes. There's one, actually this one looks quite cool. It's got a solar panel on the back of it, so I guess I have to leave that in to charge somewhere. And then there's a normal, ordinary, boring Samsung remote that needs AAA batteries. I'm going to try the fancy one to start with. Let's give it a go. Made a click. Oh, says Samsung. What have we got? A blue screen and some rotating dots. Well, it's a good sign. It does actually turn on. Start setting.
Scan the QR code. If you have a remote control, select the right button to start the setup.
Oh, there's some gentle elevator music playing, and
scan the QR code.
Yeah.
If you have a remote control, select the right button to start the setup.
And I'm being bossed around, so I'll turn the camera off and I'll get this set up. Ta-da! It is wall mounted and it is working. So the network cable's working, the aerial cable's working. I haven't checked out the HDMI cable yet because the amplifier is just down there, and there we go. Yep, that box is just down there. I've not plugged that in yet. I've not even opened it yet actually, but the picture quality on this telly is amazing. It's got like anti-reflective coating as well, so I don't get any reflections from the window outside. That is brilliant. Executive decision has been made here. My central speaker is going to sit on the actual fireplace itself on this mantelpiece and not sit on the brackets that are on the wall. Reason for that is this telly doesn't stick out from the wall very far, so when this is mounted on a bracket on the wall underneath it, then it kind of sticks out, and when we sit down on the sofa over there, it blocks the bottom of the TV. So I could adjust the height of everything, maybe drill new holes, but to be honest, it can just sit on there, and the cable is nicely hidden inside the fireplace. You might notice that this fireplace is subtly different now. It did have some sort of wooden leaf effect on it, and my wife decided she didn't like that and she pulled them all off. So yeah, now I need to clean and paint this fireplace surround, I think. Oh well, that's another job for me. Right, next job, get the amplifier working. So that's the amplifier installed, but before I show you that, I want to show you a bit of a problem I've got with the Apple TV. Now the Apple TV is on right now, and if I go to the main menu, I don't know if it's going to show up on the camera. It looks really vivid actually in the preview picture on the camera, but it's a bit washed out. The colours are quite washed out. And if I go to, let's open up Plex, you can see, I don't know if it's going to show up. It's all kind of grey and washed out. It's not like vivid colours. And then the audio is refusing to use the centre channel as well. Even though I've tried it in a couple of different modes. If I go to settings and I go down to video and audio, I can go to audio output, and that's the receiver speakers, not AirPlay, or audio format. You can change the format and you can tell it to force it to use stereo or to force it to use Dolby Digital 5.1. None of those settings seem to work. The sender channel just refuses to work. So I've got to figure that out. But luckily, the actual Samsung apps themselves are very good. So I think I'm probably going to stick with using those. Especially as you can't get 4K on the Apple TV iPlayer app either. But on the Samsung version of the iPlayer app, works perfectly, looks amazing. And I've also got Plex on there. In fact, you can see Plex, iPlayer, YouTube, Prime Video, Disney Plus, basically everything I need is on the actual TV. So, looks like I don't need the Apple TV anymore. It's very dark down in this bit of the lounge, so I've got my iPhone torch on so as you can see what's going on. But there's the new amplifier. It's a Denon, is it going to show up there? AVR-X1800H. And it does seem to put out a really good quality sound actually. Going to take a bit of getting used to. You can control it in Home Assistant of course, which is very important. But yeah, I'm going to have to give this a go and see what it's like watching a film. So I thought I'd demonstrate what you get in Home Assistant when you add the devices to it. And actually adding the devices to Home Assistant was really easy. It just kind of popped up. So down in settings, it just popped up here. No, not here. Here in devices, like this Google Cast thing is. In fact, that's the TV. It popped up with one for the Samsung and then two for the AV receiver. So I've added all of the different controls that I got to this interface here. And you can see here for the TV, you've got this media player entity. And if I power on the TV, hopefully you should see something appear in the next second. I'm actually going to turn that off because look, the AV receiver has turned on when I turned on the TV. There you go, look, the TV's on. So they're both kind of linked with, is it HDMI CEC? So if I turn on the TV, it'll turn on the AV receiver. Controlling the volume on the TV actually controls the AV receiver as well. I wonder if that works. Let me just take that up to 38. Will it adjust the others there, I wonder? I've not actually tried that, so I don't know if it will or not. There's a bit of a delay when doing anything with the Samsung, to be honest. But anyway, I can't bother to wait for that to work. That was just an experiment. So here you have got a little option to select the source, so you can choose to switch to HDMI or watch the TV. You've also got a power button. If you're playing something, it'll appear here with the thumbnail as well. And that's all pretty good. That's good basic control of the TV. Now over on the AV receiver we've got two entities, and I don't really know why we got two separate, well not just entities, two separate integrations. So we've got one for the AVR, which I assume is local on the network, and then this HEOS one. Now HEOS is the name of the app that you install on your phone to set up the AV receiver. And I really don't know why we've got two. They both appear to do the same sort of job, although this one still says it's
idle, perhaps. Is that a media player? It is a media player entity as well. I haven't really figured out what this one is for, but this one here is very useful. So if I look at the media player entity, you have got this little music icon, so you can actually change the sort of audio effect it's using and the mode, so like Dolby Digital, DTS surround, stereo, all that sort of lovely stuff. And here you've got the inputs, so you can control the inputs totally from Home Assistant, which is really very handy. And you can also tell that it's on or off. Now that's really useful because I've got an automation that's using that. So have a look at this then. Subwoofer, turn on and off with Denon amp. Now what I've got is a smart plug in the AV cabinet with the subwoofer plugged into it. So whenever the AV receiver turns on or off, all it's doing is turning on or off that subwoofer smart plug. And that means that the subwoofer basically doesn't have to use any power when nothing's using it. So that's a bit of a power saving measure there. And so far it's working well. Now this page here is nothing to do with Home Assistant. This is the Denon web interface, and you just browse to the IP address of your AV receiver and you get this full-on web interface. Now it is the best way to actually configure your amplifier. So the app is a bit pants if I'm being honest, but here in this web interface I can turn it on like this, just takes a second. And now for your main zone you can choose your audio source or your video source as well. So at the moment it's set to TV audio, which is the return channel coming down from the TV. What's it called? E-arc, isn't it? Something like that. But then in the setup menu, obviously you can tweak all of these things here. Like you can set the volume limits, you can set the EQ settings, but the best bit for me is down in speakers here. Now if I scroll down in the speakers, you can see here this level section is the absolute most useful thing in this whole web interface, because I was sat there watching a film trying to get the audio settings perfect by tweaking all of the speaker volumes so as the surround wasn't too loud and that the clarity from the front center speaker was perfect. So you can see at the moment I've got it -1 and -1 on the front speakers. Center is at 0, the surrounds, because they're a lot closer to me, are on -5. So you've really got to have a play with the settings to find out what works best for you. Down here you've got the crossover points for the subwoofer. So at the moment I've got it set to 180 Hertz. I've got to have a play with these. I haven't actually played with the crossover frequencies yet. These are actually at their defaults from what it configured for me. But you can see my subwoofer output is configured for LFE, not LFE plus main. I think that's okay. The low pass filter is 120 Hertz. Again, I think that's okay. It's just these crossovers that I need to have a play with, I think. I think 180 Hertz should be okay. But yeah, I'm getting quite a lot of sound out the center speaker, but the fronts are a little bit muddy, so I've got to have a play. That might need a bit of EQ play, I think.
Anyway, that'll do for now. I think I've probably bored you enough with talk about me getting a TV. So why don't you let me know down in the comments if you've got any kit that's still running that's older than 17.5 years, because that's how old. I think it was 17 years and 5 months was how long I had my previous TV for, and it was still going pretty much. I mean, there was a few bits of fading on the screen as you saw, but it was still going. It would have probably lasted a few more years. So yeah, drop me a comment, let me know if you've got anything that's still going that works properly that's older than that. Apart from that, anyway, thank you for watching. Goodbye.